Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Legends of Tomorrow Season 6 review series. And today I'm going to be talking about Episode 7, Back to the Finale Part 2, which I have just finished watching. And this episode, just like last time, was half good and half stupid. But I would definitely say that the good outweighed the stupid, because if you took away all of the silly stuff that was going on in this episode and just kept all the serious stuff that was going on with Sarah, this was a very good episode. I really enjoyed those side of the things very much. But, there was some stuff that was going on that I didn't really care for that much. And as I've said over the course of the last few editions for this series, the Sarah stuff has been the only thing that's kept me glued and interested and intrigued throughout, and we finally got the payoff. So now that this story arc has wrapped up, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen next over the rest of the course of season 6, because I know that Legends of Tomorrow, when it's on top of its game and it's got its head on straight, it can deliver, but for some reason they seem to move away from the good serious stuff that we know it for and just go into this silly territory that I don't care for. But aside from all of that, this was a very good episode in spite of all the silliness that was going on, and I really enjoyed this one a lot. So I'm going to give a quick recap of what's happened, and then we're going to get straight into episode 7. So basically what happened at the end of episode 6 was Sarah revealed that she was actually a clone thanks to Bishop, and he presented her the body of the real Sarah, who was laying there dead after being poisoned. So now this Sarah is essentially a clone with all of the original Sarah's memories, and that's pretty much how we left that episode. That was quite a decent cliffhanger. So we've learned in this episode that Sarah is now like an alien hybrid, so to speak. But this was very intriguing stuff and really kept me on the edge of my seat. And as I said, if we had just had Mick Rory going to rescue Sarah, if this was the only thing we had in this episode, I'd have been okay with that, because, this was very good. So with that all said, let's get right into it. Let's talk about episode 7, Back to the Finale, part 2. And for those of you who are wondering, what does that title actually mean? We see the legends go back to the season 5 finale where this all kicked off in the first place. So they're trying to go back to the end of season 5 to prevent Sarah from kidnapping. Just in case anyone's wondering, what does that actually mean? So this episode picks up where we left off at the end of 6, where we see Sarah looking at her dead body and Bishop revealing how he duplicated her. He tells her it was just the beginning and that he is planning to replicate all of Sarah's DNA and spread it across the universe on various different planets. We then see on the Wave Rider, Ava watches the video of Sarah telling David Bowie that she plans to propose to Ava over and over again, while the whole team is grieving for Sarah. On Bishop's planet, Kayla and Rory emerge from their pod and are checking to see if the barrier is back up. They make a deal to try and save Sarah before the third moon sets. In Bishop's lab, guards come in and Bishop completes his transition to a new body and continues to explain his plan, now talking about using alien DNA to create a hybrid, specifically Sarah alien hybrids across the universe. Sarah is angry and tries to fight him when he takes the engagement ring she has planned to give to Ava. Bishop has sent her to the incinerator, and then we see Mick on his quest to find Sarah is found by some clones, but unfortunately they are the ones who are with Gary. Nate and Zara discover that Birad is not on the Wave Rider, and Birad has gotten high and decided to go back to the end of season 5 to save Sarah before she's ever kidnapped in the first place. The legends gather at a place where they never visited last year to come up with a proper plan. Unfortunately, the evening was a huge blur for most of them. They also realise that doing this means they will end up never meeting Spooner. Birad realises the opening to save Sarah and runs into her. She refuses to get on the Wave Rider because she's planning to propose to Ava. On Bishop's planet, Sarah is rescued by Mick, Gary and the Ava clones, who are actually working together to save her. Sarah says they have to stop Bishop before they can leave, and the plan is to take out all of his clones at once. With Birad's first plan a bust, Constantine and Zari tried next, this time to get Sarah to propose so they can get everyone back on the Wave Rider earlier than planned. Their plan is also a bust, but Zari suddenly realizes that Constantine doesn't have his powers. He is hoping a timeline reset will restore his powers back to normal. However, as they depart, Ava sees the Season 5 version of themselves and busts the Season 6 versions, ordering them back to their timeline. On Bishop's planet, Sarah is working on setting the generators to blow up and cuts herself, but discovers that she is able to regenerate and heal, realizing that Bishop has already tinkered with her DNA. She confronts him. He reveals that he merged her with an alien, as he said was part of his plan. She wants him to tell her how to make herself human again, but he won't. She disables him, takes the ring, and leaves him. Sarah asks one of the Ava clones to make a clean clone of Sarah, one without any alien DNA. Meanwhile, back at the Season 5 finale, Birad has a plan to use an exploding mannequin doll to create a distraction, specifically a decoy for Gary to kidnap instead and not mess up the timeline when it explodes and still sends aliens into it. Spooner is meant to run interference but runs into Sarah, who has been told not to interact with her, but she does so anyway. She ends up telling Sarah about when she was abducted as a child and reveals that she was messed with by aliens and reveals she's afraid of what her friends will think of her. Sarah ends up giving her some advice and Spooner gives some too. The timeline catches up and remains intact. However, at the base, another Nate shows up to stop the Legends from executing their current plan. Birad runs out to save Sarah but fails as Sarah is abducted once again, just like the end of Season 5. Mick shows up looking for Sarah since they're running out of time and takes down another Bishop, but unfortunately Bishop starts to upload his consciousness to the cloud, and she doesn't have time to finish her clone body and stop him. She has to choose. Mick, however, tells her even with her merged DNA, she's still Sarah, and they decide to blow it all up. The clones choose to stay behind. When Gary, Sarah, and Mick get to the ship, we see Kayla is gone. The hostile aliens attack, but Kayla comes back to get them. The aliens attacking Kayla fights them off, but then goes missing. Mick, Sarah, and Gary leave without her. We are back at the end of Season 5. Birad realizes that the reason Sarah got abducted was his distraction, and Astra comforts him. The team realizes they need a drink, and on the Wave Rider, the file of Sarah returns home to Ava, and they go together to find the rest of the Legends. We then see the team is reunited and they go back to the ship, but not before Sarah proposes to Ava, who accepts, and that's how we end Episode 7. Overall, aside from the silliness that was going on, this was actually a pretty good episode, and Mick had a big part in this episode, and I'm really glad to see he was showcased to the fullest in this one, and, this was a very good episode. And as I said, if we didn't have the silliness, then this would be a lot more higher and a lot more stronger. And as I said, very good episode. So now that the Legends have got Sarah back, this wraps up that story arc. And Sarah has proposed to Ava and she's accepted. What happens next? Where do we go from here? Very good question. But as I said, this was a very good episode. Silliness aside, but I enjoyed this one a lot. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you think of Episode 7? Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the fact that the Legends were going back to Season 5 and trying to stop Sarah from being abducted? And also, what was your thoughts on Mick Rory's role in this episode? Do you think they did a good job showcasing him? And also, what was your thoughts on Bishop trying to make loads of Sarah clones? Do you think that was a bit over the top? And also, now that the Legends have got Sarah back, where do you see the Legends going from here? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Legends of Tomorrow Season 6 review series, where I am going to be talking about Episode 8, which should be very interesting, especially with the way this episode ended. So we'll have to see what happens. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe, and once again, thanks for listening.